Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm back in my old 2005 Land Rover Discovery 3 that I bought a few weeks ago for just £500. It was cheap because it had done 223,000 miles, it was a bit scruffy, and it had a short MOT. I still couldn't believe my luck when I saw it though, because it was a top spec HSE with all the gadgets, and it was automatic. It just seemed like the bargain of the century. It did come with a good number of issues though, obviously. I've got through some of the issues and it's running much better. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it drives quite well. Before we continue, I must give a shout out to today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark, who are a VPN service provider. They basically help to keep you safe while you're online, whether you're doing online banking, online shopping, or just streaming some of your favourite movies. Surfshark encrypts all your private details, both to and from your devices. It also keeps your IP address hidden, so cyber thieves can't view it. What I use Surfshark for personally though is when I'm using online streaming sites such as Netflix. You see, if you're here in the UK but you want to watch your favourite US show, sometimes it isn't available, but with Surfshark you can change your location settings so that it thinks you're actually in the US. That way you can watch your favourite TV show or movie without a fault. In addition to that, Surfshark blocks malware, phishing, ads, which in turn can help your device run much more quickly. You can download the app from the App Store, it's very cheap, very easy to use, and you can use it on an unlimited number of devices. We're all online a huge amount of time these days, and you just don't know how much personal information you're putting out there, so why not protect it? It's especially relevant if you frequently use public Wi-Fi spots, such as at airports, train stations, fast food restaurants, that kind of thing. You really don't know who could be spying on you, and the last thing I want to do is have my credit card or bank account hacked. If you use the link below, which is surfshark.deals/highpeakautos, and use the promo code highpeakautos, they'll give you 3 months totally free and 83% off. And we're not talking a big expensive commitment here, it works out about £1.35 a month. So if you shop online, do online banking, or simply wish to watch your favourite TV show from another country, then do check them out. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, back to the spend on the Discovery. The first thing I did was to register it in my name. Because the car had a private plate which came with the vehicle, I thought for £80 I could take that plate off and try and sell it on eBay, try and recoup some costs. So that was the first job. I put it in my name and then applied to take the registration plate off, which I did, because I figured that that's got to be worth £300, £400, £500 maybe. So it might help me offset some of my spend. The next thing I did was send off the old key fob. Now this car only came with one key and it looked like it had been for a minting machine. I'm surprised it even worked. If I went straight to Land Rover, it would have cost me about £200 for a new key. But I found a company on eBay who will refurbish your old key for about £25. So I parked it up somewhere where I didn't need to move it because there was only one key, popped it in the post, and then 3 days later, and £25 later, I got a brand new key in the post. Even the remote central locking works, which shocked me. That was my first result. By that time I'd got the paperwork back in my name with the original number plate on, so I had 2 new number plates made, which instantly lifted the car. That's a good bit of advice actually if you're thinking of flipping a car. Change the number plates, because a 10-year-old number plate can look quite worn and rotten. Quite frequently the screws holding the plate in place will have rusted and it just looks a mess. So for £12 or £15, a fresh set of plates really helps it. The next thing were the mechanicals. Now although it drove okay, when you put the engine under a little bit of load, under a hill for example, you'd get this horrible vibration noise. I thought that it was the injectors and I thought that would be a really costly fix. But after reading the comments, many of you suggested that it could be the torque converter. So I went ahead and booked it in with my trusty auto gearbox specialist and let him have a look for me. The funny thing was, as soon as I dropped this off with the gearbox man, before I even finished my sentence to describe the problem, he said, "Oh yeah, that's your torque converter, that. They're about £1,000 for a refurbished one." But he said, "I'll do a gearbox flush and put some fresh fluid in it and a fresh filter and see how we go." And I can't quite believe the results because I'm not usually that lucky. But now, under load, it's buttery smooth. It's completely cured it. Now that cost me £210 plus VAT. In all honesty, that is the best £244 I've ever spent. He did warn me that it won't last forever, but it has at least prolonged its life. Now the gear changes are smooth and all the vibrations have gone. I'm not sure what fluid he used, but I suspect it may have been honey. Quick recap then, now I was at the point where I had a functioning gearbox, it drove okay, and I had a working key. So, naturally the next step was to give the engine a good service. So I took it to my local mechanics, and I asked them to give it a full engine service, so fresh oil and filter, fresh pollen filter, fresh air filter, fresh fuel filter, the whole lot. Because according to its service history, it hadn't had a service for about 40,000 miles, which doesn't do anything any good. Whilst it was there, I also asked them to remove the old side steps, which if you remember back, were completely rotten. and now I think it looks tons better without them. Just looks much cleaner. That full service and the removal of the rusty side steps set me back £298 plus VAT, so £360 total. Whilst it was down there, I asked them to do a pre-MOT just to see if it would pass an MOT. Now, I didn't think for one second that it would, but at least I'd be left with a list of things that I could slowly go through. It turns out the list was rather long. And that unfortunately is where the good news ends, because it does need quite a few £100 spending on it to get through an MOT. For starters, the electronic handbrake doesn't work. Now, a new one is about £750. Again, I went online and found a company that will refurbish the old one for about £130, so I could do that on the cheap. All you do is strip out the old one, send it off in the post, and then £130 later, you get a new one back. It needs new brake discs and pads and possibly a caliper. It needs 4 new tyres, which are about £120 each, because they're all on the limit. But to be honest, they're all odd. I think I told you this last time. There isn't a single pair that match. The best and easiest thing to do, because this has got the wrong wheels, would be to find a replacement set of 19-inch HSE wheels and try and find some with a set of matching tyres. I found a set on eBay with decent matching tyres with about 3-4 mil of tread left, and they were £360. I've not bought them yet, but they are on my watch list. In addition to that, it needs a bit of welding. My mechanic said between 3 and 4 hours worth of welding, which could be anywhere from £120 to £160. The front suspension arms are shot, which is no surprise because the handling is a little bit wayward, although I'm not sure the tyres help. And the new arms, unfortunately, are quite expensive. In addition to that, there are several oil leaks, which is a total shock on an old Land Rover, isn't it? Who would have thought that? An oil leak on a Land Rover? Just unheard of. This is my dilemma. To get it through an MOT, I'm going to have to spend another £1,500 on it, and it already stands me at about 12 or £12.50. So do I spend another 15, in which case it's going to owe me £27.50, when in all honesty I don't have any use for it anyway. I only bought it because it was cheap and I thought it'd be a bit of a laugh. I think even as it stands now with a short MOT, now it's running right, I think it's easily worth £2,000. But with a fresh MOT and a good clean-up, I think it could be worth about £4,000. So that's the dilemma. Do I, don't I? I've also got a mate of mine who wants it and he's prepared to do the work on it. So that's the other option. I just don't know what to do with it. The more I use it, the more I drive it. It's quite a nice car, this. I'm convinced there's more life in it yet. So it just wouldn't sit well with me to see it scrapped. I suppose I really shouldn't get so attached to these things. I fear it will be my downfall. I also like the fact that if I drive it on one of these narrow country roads and there's a car approaching, I can just put it straight into the bushes, and I really couldn't care less. It doesn't really matter if I get some bramble scratches down the side, does it, in the grand scheme of things? Whereas if I were in my Range Rover, I think I'd be mortified. Anyway, you'll have to leave this decision with me because I just haven't made up my mind yet. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then do check out my online course. I've created an online platform with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the used motor trade. Where to start, funding options, where to buy your cars from, it's all there, so do check it out. Also, if you're interested in buying some High Peak merchandise, then check out my new shop. It's www.highpeakstore.co.uk. Cheers guys, I'll see you next time.